Hey everyone, welcome back to another YouTube video. I hope that you can hear me amongst all of the roadwork noise that we're having out the front of my house at the moment. I want to talk this week about a piece of equipment that is a really great bit to have in your dog's kit, which is a long line. A long line is a really great thing to give your dog a bit of freedom if you're still working on their recall, if they're not appropriate to be let off the leash at a dog park. On that note, it's also important to note that if it's not a signed off-leash dog park, you literally are not allowed to let your dog off the leash. It's against the law. If there are no signs that say off-leash allowed, then your dog must be on leash. End of story, period. No questions asked, no arguments. It's important to remember that parks and ovals are there for everybody to enjoy, not just dog owners, and we've got to remember that even if you have a Lassie dog that we talked about a couple weeks ago, Lassie's got a lot to answer for. Even if you've got a Lassie dog, even if you've got a dog that's perfect with all things and all beings all the time, you've got to remember some people are scared of dogs, some people don't like dogs. I know it's weird, hard to compute, but they do exist, and that's okay. So if you have a thing like this, lovely long line for your dog, it means that you can kind of have your cake and eat it too, because your dog is on leash, your dog is under control, you know your dog is going to be staying within your proximity with you, and we can all have a bit of fun while still enjoying the freedoms of off leash. Thanks, Jess and Odin. Touch. Sit. Look. Yes. That was an example of what we call interrupt, redirect, reinforce. Odin says, I don't care for reversing trucks out the front. That's okay. We can interrupt his behavior with one cue, redirect his behavior with another cue, and then reinforce his behavior with another cue. Odin, look. Yes. And then I'm going to keep my attention on him to make sure he doesn't continue to bark. I know, buddy. So what we're going to do is talk about a couple of the things that you want to practice with a long line before you take your dog out into a real public park. Obviously, it's going to take a little bit of management. It's a motor skill in and of itself to have your dog on a long leash. So the first thing we'll talk about is managing the leash. This is one of the lines that doesn't have a loop on the end, so I like to always have it wrapped around my thumb like so. So you can see the way that I've got the leash on top of itself, wrapped around my thumb, and that isn't going to go anywhere. Then, with the rest of the line, I'm going to wind it up so that I can hold it comfortably in one hand and then have the excess in my other. So, hey Odin, you ready? Close? We want to have a dog who knows how to come into position. Yes! I like to have my dog on my right. I know tradition says left, but I don't care. I'm going to clip on. Yes! We're going to practice just a little bit of eye contact. I'm waiting for Odin, yes, to look up at me. And when I've got a dog who weighs as much as I do on a long line, I'm going to reinforce check-ins religiously. I thought I wasn't filming for a second. Yes, we've also got Butchie joining us today. Hello, Butcher Bird. Odin, should we give some to Butchie? Don't think you're on camera then, mate. All right, yes, you did do a good job. So, I like to have one hand feeding the rope through, one hand holding the excess. I'm going to take Odin for a little stroll up around the garden. I'm going to reinforce his eye contact with me. Yes, I'm going to reinforce his check-ins. And I'm going to make sure that I'm always collecting up the leash. I'm only giving him as much as he needs at any one given time. Part of that is so that I find that I don't get, yes, slingshotted at some point. If he decides to go from 5 meters behind me to 5 meters in front of me, he could get some velocity up there. Also wanting to make sure that he doesn't get his legs tangled up because again, it's a lot of leash. So, monkey see, monkey do, we're going to go for a little stroll around the garden. Watch me letting the line out with one hand, collecting it up with the other, reinforcing check-ins. Ready? Let's go. Yes. Yes. I like to keep it up high. Boy, Odin, you're free. Let's go. Yes. Make the lap. That was a terrible wait. Touch. Yes. Boy, Odin. So, reinforcing eye contact and check-ins. using name recognition, using the cues that they've got already, so position, like close, touch to get them near you, recall if you can see that they're coming down to the end of the line, making sure we feed up the leash so that we don't have a huge amount of it on the ground at any one time. We practice this one at home, yes, in the garden, because when you're out in the park, the unexpected can occur. You know, the off-leash yahoos that we were talking about before, who have their dogs off-leash in on-leash areas, might come through. That would be extremely problematic, as you can tell that it would be really difficult for me to manage Odin in that situation because of his size and my size. So you make sure that when you're practicing these things, you do it at home and get your skills working really well. Work under distraction and proof it. So things like at the moment, let's see if I can get him on camera this time. Leave it, yes. With our lovely butcher bird distractions and all other sorts of things. So this is just a quick little video to show you guys something that you can use. Give your dog a little bit more freedom, especially in the case of maybe a rescue dog that you're still getting to know. You're not really sure what they're like, you're getting to know their personality. Do they like dogs? Do they like people? We're not too sure. If you have them in an on-leash area on a long line, you are going to be setting yourself and your dog up for success, while also having your cake and eating it too, because you get to enjoy that freedom. So, Odin, when you're ready, you're free. Go find it. Hopefully Butchie doesn't try to take some. And if you have any questions about long lines, or if you want any suggestions on where to buy them, hit us up in the comments. This is a great one. It's Easy Dog. It's their track and train leash because it's got some rubber gripping in there. It's like nice little rubber webbing. It's got a close handle so that if you are in a situation where you do suddenly need to get your dog close, you can hold on. But if I'm perfectly honest, my favorite long line, I'm going to leave a link in the description of this video, is from Polite Paws. They've got 5 meter and 10 meter biothane long lines. They're made of this like rubber that doesn't pick up the whole beach or the whole park when you come home. It doesn't get all the casuarina leaves sticking to it. They're light, they feel nice on your hands. So yeah, I strongly recommend those ones. The other thing that I'd say with your long line is if you've got a dog that outweighs you, you might also like to attach something like a bungee, so to give you a little bit of extra recoil. But again, that's something that like I'd prefer to train up a really good recall before looking at something like that. If I'm going to attach the long line onto I'm going to only ever attach it onto a harness. I'm never going to attach it onto a collar. I'm only going to attach it to the rear attachment point, never to the front. And a really cool tip that I got from R+ Dogs on Instagram is to make sure your long line is a bright color. So again, this Easy Dog one is not ideal, but having a bright red or a bright yellow long line will help other dog owners to see at a great distance that your dog is actually on a leash. I've had many a time when I've been out with Odin and I've seen someone's dog on one of those retractable long lines, and I have just flat out thought that dog was off leash because I couldn't see it. So with that, let's just see if we can get Potato back in for one more. Speaking of, Odin, come! Yes! Alright, thanks for that, you guys. Have some snacks for that. And just because I love him, we'll have one more go. Odin, touch. Sit. Sit. Wait. Have a great week, you guys.